Hello out there, all you radio-controlled airplane fans. I've been not doing a lot of videos lately because, frankly, this has been a bitterly cold couple of months. In fact, January was the third coldest month in the last 15 years around here, but frankly, I wasn't here for that. My wife and I decided to take off January and go south and sail around in the Gulf of Mexico for a while. We got back just as things warmed up, and now the February forecast from the next week is temperatures down in the single digits again and more clouds. And so, obviously, not had a lot of incentives to play around with airplanes very much. But it occurred to me that I probably ought to start getting ready for April because I'm going to be gone quite a bit in March. So, in March and April, in fact, we have a trip to Europe coming up. So, this is going to be a video about a couple of topics. One, I want to talk about getting airplanes ready for spring, my routine for that. Secondly, I'm going to give you a quick tour of my basement down here and show you how I have things set up. This is probably a pretty normal basement for a radio control guy who has a house and wasn't built for absolutely not built for radio control models, and some of the things I've had to do to make this work for me. So I'm going to go turn off the camera. Okay, let's start the video on the basement. There's one of the cats. How about that? So when we bought this house, this area down here was all carpeted. It was a big playroom for the two kids that lived here. Didn't suit us, so we remodeled it. We added this room, was not there. We took the carpet up, put down the flooring that you see. But before we put down the flooring, the reason, really one of the main reasons we did that was that this house has a sump pump. That sump pump quit working one day. We came down here, the carpet was all soaked. Luckily, insurance covered most of the costs to take it up, haul it away, and then we hired a company to come in and put down this flooring. But before we put down that flooring, this was just bare concrete, and that's when we decided that we might as well go ahead and build this room. So Paula and I put that room together out of 2x4s, put up the sheetrock, painted the walls a totally different color, put up all of this dark molding that you see, covered up that post with molding, painted the white tiles, white ceiling tiles, a color to more or less match. It was about a 2-month project. So going on around over here, we have a small wine collection, my twin timber wings that I can't find with bags for. If anybody knows where to get a bag for one of those, two of them, let me know. I haven't found one yet. And then the airplane collection, the star of the basement, at least for me, not necessarily for Paula. So I think I've got 12 or 13 airplanes in here, a couple of UMXs, some giant scale, and some kind of normal, just scale. Mostly these are, well, they're all prop driven. I've given up on jets. But all of these airplanes have been around, most of them a while. Let's see, if we go down the list here, the Cherokee that you see buried under the UMX Conscendo has been with me since 2001 when I got back in the hobby. It'll be its 5th year. It's had a few repairs, and so has the Cessna down there, the 150. And everything else is 2 to 3 years old. And these are all keepers. Let me tell you, they're all great. I've got FMS, I've got Tower Hobbies and Horizon Hobby stuff in here. And that radio link there, it's an oddball. That airplane is a lot of fun. Back here, you got the wings and the floats for the beaver. We have a treadmill that very rarely ever gets used. You get down here occasionally in the wintertime and use it. And another bookcase, the wife's workspace that she uses quite a bit. And then back around to my work table. This was originally intended as a craft work table, and I guess airplanes are a craft too, so it's getting used as it was intended. There's my, I have actually have two stands over there stacked on top of each other. So that's pretty much the basement. Oh, over here, not all of it, there's the model airplane simulator and the TV that we don't use much anymore. So the cats, kind of an interesting story. The cats have that for their litter boxes. And at one time, this couch here was the cat bedroom. But those cats are no longer with us. They wouldn't let us sleep at night. They were constantly waking us up wanting to play. So we got two new cats now. Well, they're both 5 or 6 years old, but they just love to sleep with us, and they sleep all night until we get up in the morning and feed them. And it's just amazing to me how different cats can be so different in terms of their behavior. So let's go talk about airplanes now. So it occurred to me a few days ago that if I want to go out and have some fun flying airplanes anytime in the near future, I really need to look over all of the airplanes on that rack over there and make sure that everything is still working properly. And the easiest one to illustrate that with is the Conscendo here, even though it doesn't have landing gear that you're going to check. So what are we going to do to see if everything is still working? Well, obviously, what are we concerned about? Well, we're concerned about servos, hinges, motors, and antennas, radios. Are they working properly? Is everything in the switching system here still doing what it's supposed to do? We'll probably range check everything when we take it out to the field for the first time, make sure that nothing has gone wrong there, and looking, making sure that nothing is broken or cracked. In fact, I've already found one hinge that had to be repaired, a couple of former repairs, but on my UMX Conscendo over there, I found a small crack in the fuselage that I wasn't aware of, and used some glue, used a little CA to seal that back up. And particularly though, on these Horizon Hobby models, the one that have foam hinges, you want to check and make sure that you didn't miss anything last year when you put them away, that there might have been one that's starting to go bad. And they will generally warn you when they start to go bad. So let's talk about this Conscendo for a minute. I've got it all put together here. There's 4 screws that hold it together. And I have found that this little 2mm screwdriver here works much better than the Phillips head that comes with these. It's really easy to put that in there, tighten these down nice and tight. You can tell it gives you a nice positive lock on all of those. So I have tried to eliminate on all of my airplanes any Phillips head screws that are used to hold the wings on. And I've got a set of these, small set, in my transmitter bag that'll fit almost anything. And if I can't find that at the field I fly out, they have a set too. So anyway, that aside, what are we going to check? Well, we're going to take a look at, or listen to the servos. I'm going to exercise them, see if there's any feeling here of resistance, a catch in them. I'm going to look at the hinges. And I just found a problem with this one that I wasn't aware of. Yep, I'm going to have to, on the bottom here, I wasn't aware of this. I'm glad I checked that. That servo arm is actually hitting the front of this little guard here that I put on. This guard is off of a different sailplane. So when I get done with this video, I'm going to take this loose. It's just taped down with clear tape, and move that forward just a little bit because that is hitting right there. Okay, check the tail. Sounds good. Now on this particular airplane, it has a weak point right here where the bottom of the rudder attaches to the fuselage, and I've actually had to cut a slit in here and put in a little piece of plastic, a plastic hinge on the bottom, because the one that was there broke. But otherwise, that sounds just fine. Elevator servo sounds fine. Hinges all look good, nice and sound, nothing starting to break loose. And I have had aileron servos on this Conscendo that have, not servos, aileron hinges that have gone bad, starting to crack right in this area right here. This happens to be, I think, my fourth Conscendo, and I had a spare wing from a wreck and put that on here. Let's see, what else? Okay, so we're going to start up the airplane, put a battery on it. Pick our transmitter. Got a smart battery warning, yeah, because it's not charged. And we're going to listen when it starts up. Do the servos sound good? Does everything hook up like it's supposed to? And then we're going to check ailerons. Go to high rates. Well, that explains why that thing wasn't turning very well. This is the one that's binding on that fairing. Okay, rudder sounds good. Elevators sound good. Go into safe. Mix is working right. Mix on this in safe is elevator and rudder coordinated for a turn. Flaps are working. Take off flaps. Full flaps, those are working. Let's check safe, make sure it's working properly. Yep, everything's moving in the right direction. Take a look at this. I've got this thing decapitated itself. This whole nose piece fell off at one point. Check that, make sure that's still secure. Also on this particular Conscendo, I was about to take off and this entire motor piece flew off. And I've put it back together. It's still good and tight. I glued it very, very well. That's still okay. ESC is where it belongs. Everything looks good in there. The antennas on this Conscendo are external. I've routed them out under that wing. Then on the back here, on the, let's see, turn it around, on the belly is the other antenna. I was getting some fades I didn't like, so I decided to take care of that. This vent here came off last year in flight and had to do, I think, with this repair I made. So I glued it back on. That's still holding. That's good and tight. Turn off safe. Get rid of that chattering servo. And everything looks pretty good. Fuselage in the back is nice and tight. There's nothing loose there. The GPS unit is still glued in well. So, based on that, I think this airplane is ready to go come spring. And I'll be doing that with everything over there on that rack. In fact, I've already checked all the fuselages. And let's see, what did I find? On the small T-28, one of the landing gear was binding. I had to cut away a little piece of foam inside the wheel well to stop that. And that it wouldn't, the wing, the the landing gear, one of the main gears, would not go down all the time. It was binding kind of sporadically, and I took a close look and found there just like a tiny bit of foam out that it was hitting. Then they worked fine. So I actually did that to the other side just in case. Otherwise, I haven't found much. Oh, I do need to run the motor. Let's move this out of the way. So we're going to just run the motor up a little bit. Making sure that prop is balanced and the brake works properly. Motor off. Making sure those blades there are still nice and loose, like they're supposed to be. That sounded great. Motor sounded good. No vibration whatsoever, just smooth as silk. So the last check. So I think this one's actually ready to go. Okay, now we're going to move on to a new model that I just got this week. And I'll explain a little more about that when we get started and I get everything set up for that one. Okay, finally today I'm going to talk very briefly about this Cessna 400 from Tower Hobbies. I saw this advertised on another channel, the RC Sailors, on sale for $129, and I jumped on it. And I literally went out there without even watching all the video and bought it because for, $130 for an airplane this size, bind and fly. No, it's not a bind and fly. It was a P&P, but I had an extra AR-630 receiver that I could put in it. And I haven't flown it yet. Obviously, the weather around here, January, February, has just been awful. I didn't get to fly a day or two in December, but since then, temperatures have rarely been above freezing. I think we've had 3 or 4 sunny days. It's just been horrible weather. Hopefully it'll get better here before too much longer. But it came in a box and I unpacked it. It's got a one-piece wing. Goes on really easy. It's only got 3 bolts you have to install. One of them is a spinner, and the other 2 on the wings. And if you pull off the canopy here, I'll go get the camera and show you how this all fits together. Okay, so assembling this airplane is dead simple. The fuselage comes with the rudder uninstalled, but a little CA on the hinges, which are little flexible plastic hinges, and off you go. But before you do that, you need to put the elevator on, which again, they recommend using either CA or I use foam tack for the elevator horizontal stabilizer. Glue on the fake antenna, glue on the little steps down there, and then put the wing on. And the wing fits with 2 bolts that go through the bottom of the wing, and the servo is already in there. All you have to do is install the receiver. So there is the AR-630 back there. A couple of micro servos. Rudder on the right, elevator on the left, and of course the rudder also controls the nose wheel. A generous sized battery tray, which I've marked in red for the CG, and the battery that goes in there is this 1300 3S. It'll probably take a 2200, but I think a 1300 is going to give me plenty of flight time. The prop goes right on, no problem. I've run it up. It seems to be pretty well balanced. The only issue with this airplane is it's not going to be easy to take the wings off for transport because everything, all these come through already hooked up. I guess you could take it loose here at the Y connectors. You got a Y for the elevator and a Y for the flaps, and the lighting system is powered off of the flaps servos. so they come on automatically. Let's power it up and take a quick look at it. Here we are, all powered up. It's got wingtip lights. It's got a landing light, but no lights back on the tail. Pretty simple to program. I've got it programmed just like I have all my other airplanes, with flaps on here on the G switch. Of course, you got your elevators, rudder back there, safe select here on the B switch, motor cutoff safe right here, and rates over here on this switch. Full sound announcements. Took about maybe 15-20 minutes to set up from a basic model. Not too bad. The whole process, putting this thing together, took about 90 minutes, including the radio programming. Brian Phillips has an excellent video on this too, but his is 2 hours long. He goes through the entire unboxing process. Hope it flies well. I checked today with Tower Hobbies to see if they still have it in stock for that price, and they seem to. A little bit ambiguous on the site, but I think they still have some left. Anxious to see how it flies. Anyway, that's it for this session, and hope the weather improves real soon wherever you are. We're going to be gone quite a bit of March and April, but hopefully by the time we get back from our travels, be ready to go flying again. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.